One of which is this concept of people charging more because it's a wedding versus it being some other social event. And that's a huge ick for, I guess, brides and just people in general that are reaching out to wedding vendors.
Okay, do you wanna go first?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I think, we were gonna start kind of like high picture. So this is like wedding industry sort of, the wedding industry, I think it's a bad rap sometimes. So
for sure.
We definitely got some, I would say, hot takes on the general wedding industry that were submitted to both of us. One of which is this concept of people charging more because it's a wedding versus it being some other social event. And that's a huge ick for, I guess, brides and just people in general that are reaching out to wedding vendors, which, I do think that's a rumor that kind of goes around the circuit. I see it on TikTok. I see it everywhere of like, just inquire and don't say it's a wedding and see if the pricing is different. And I even have been price shopped that way before. So I think that can definitely be something that people keep in mind, but I mean, you guys tell me if you agree, but I don't think that happens as often as people think that it does. And I could see where it would ick you out if it was that way, but I don't think it happens all the time.
I mean, in my position, I actually charge more for corporate work because they're being used for marketing.
Absolutely.
So it's like
when in perpetuity, they can use that for
and they're
their
usually
marketing.
for wedding stuff, we don't usually give them the rights to raw
Absolutely.
footage, but for corporate stuff, they get the rights because they want to be able to use it for anything they want to use it for.
So there and of itself, it's going to be more expensive.
And
Absolutely.
it's like when you get the rights for music for weddings, we pay significantly less for the rights for weddings than we do for corporate work. And even with that, they charge more depending on where it's going to be seen and how many people are going to see it.
True.
Yeah, because if it's on like national television, it's going to be more expensive.
The licensing is going to be much higher than if it was.
So therefore, we charge more for that because of what you're getting.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as like a wedding photographer perspective, there's a lot more that goes into photographing a wedding than there is to photographing a birthday party or
a baby shower,
a corporate event. I juggle emotional stuff.
Emotions are high.
On wedding days, I'm quite literally putting out fires once upon a time.
Literally.
When the candles fall. Someone needs to be there.
But seriously, like so for me, I'm probably charging more for a wedding just because there's a lot more going into it. And I would say it also just depends on what the event is. It just depends, honestly.
Yeah. And I think from a planner's perspective, there is a totally different ballgame when you're pricing a wedding versus pricing a corporate event versus a social event, which would encompass all the things we just mentioned, birthday parties.
Yeah, I mean, on a birthday party, I might deliver, depending on how long I'm there, but I might deliver like 300 images. And when I'm pricing for things, I'm not just pricing my day of, because I'm editing all the photos,
you have editing time.
I'm doing meetings and things like that. All of that is incorporated into my pricing. It's not just when you physically see me on the day.
Absolutely.
So my pricing, it incorporates me editing 3,000 images as well, which is going to be higher than 300.
Well, and I think the emotionality piece, if that's a word, emotional.
We'll make it a word.
We'll make it a word.
It's a word. Webster, add this.
Is the most important part of the pricing that's missing is that, if you didn't capture that one moment at the birthday party, you're going to have a birthday next year. So we can capture it. We can do this again next year. But if you're at a wedding and you miss that first kiss, or you miss the moment that they do the cake exchange or something like that, you can't really, you can redo it. And we have done that before, where it's like, okay, let's stop and redo that moment.
But that is
that's
so
least talk about an ick. That is an ick to me. That is an ick to me. Like somebody starts doing their first dance and they're like, hold on.
I have another one.
We gotta do it again. You know what I mean?
It's along the lines of that. I've heard of it done. I've literally, honestly, thank God I've never witnessed it. Redoing the first look.
Oh no!
I've heard of it. Thankful for the.
They gave Oscar award-winning performances.
Haven't we had to redo that? Haven't we had to do that before?
Well, we were just like either photo or video that day.
Yeah.
And yes. I remember. It was at
Haw Valley.
No, Chandler Hill.
Oh, you're right.
So let's, clear this up for the viewers. So when you do a first look, obviously it's supposed to be the most emotional moment of the day.
And we want it organic.
Completely
organic moment. It's the first time that our couple is seeing each other. They're going to turn around, see their, first look of not only just like all the beautiful gowns and suits and all of that stuff, but it also usually like our clients will want to maybe exchange personal vows at that time, especially if they're doing, a more, religious ceremony. That can be a time to do that. Or they just, kind of just hang out for a couple minutes, have a drink, a toast, whatever. So if we had to redo that moment, I would be like, okay, so, all right, dry the tears and then turn around and act like you did it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be tough.
Oh, man.
Every time I see somebody talk about that on any of the Facebook groups, I'm just like, oh, why?
And that, going back to what we were originally talking about, that's a lot of pressure. So like you're holding a lot of pressure. And it sounds weird to say that that's like a cost factor, but like it's just something that we know is much more valuable in general than just like shooting anything like corporate or parties or something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think when it comes to tangible items, I don't see that happening in the industry very often where, okay, we put the word wedding, so now your glassware is double the cost. That's not really what happens. So I think this is like a rumor, an ick that probably many people think they have, but if they were kind of in the know, I think they would realize that doesn't really happen as often as they think it does. So
for sure.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I like that one.